In example number 1, we've got to find a common denominator. 11, 22, the lowest common denominator is going to be 22. So we're going to leave the bottom fraction alone and take our top one times 2. So my new fraction is going to be 20 seconds. Now we're ready to subtract. Subtract those numerators. 20 minus 13 is 7. Leave the denominators the same and subtract those whole numbers. Check to see, is this lowest terms? Well, 7 is prime. The only thing that goes in there is 1 and 7. And 7 doesn't go into 22, so we are in lowest terms. Example number 2. Again, we need to find a common denominator. 6 times 4 is 24, and that would work for our common denominator, but there is a lower number. 6 and 4 also both go into 12. So I want to make it easy. I'm going with the lower number. So now 6 times 2 gives me 12. So I need to do 5 times 2, and now that is 10 twelfths. Instead of 3/4, I want to make it 12ths. 4 times 3 is 12, so I need to do 3 times 3. Whatever we do the bottom, we've got to do the top. So my new equivalent fraction is going to be 9 twelfths. Now we're ready to do step 4, add. Add the numerators, that's 19. Keep the denominators the same, that's 12. Add my whole numbers, that's 7. Check to see, is this lowest terms? Well, 19 twelfths is an improper fraction. We can't leave it that way. As you've already learned, we can think, how many times does 12 go into 19? Well, 12 goes into 19 one whole time, so I have a whole number 1 with a remainder of 7. So that's going to turn into 1 and 7 twelfths. Combine that together with the 7 whole we already had, our final answer should be 8 and 7 twelfths, which is in lowest terms. Example number 3 is about subtracting mixed numbers. So again, we're going to get our common denominator. 5, 15. Well, I can change the 5 to 15. Keep 7 fifteenths the same. Multiply both of those by 3. My new fraction is going to be 3 fifteenths. Now we're ready to subtract. 3 minus 7, we can't do. We can't take 3 minus 7. We need more on top. So we're going to borrow. This is where that borrow if needed step comes in. We're going to borrow from the whole number. Instead of 8, let's make him 1 less, and now he is 7. But what are we going to do with that 1 we just borrowed? We're going to bring it over and combine it with the 3 fifteenths we already have. 1 and 3 fifteenths we're going to turn into an improper fraction. So we have enough to subtract. 15 times 1 is 15, plus those 3 give me 18 fifteenths. Going to leave this one alone. If we borrow from him, we'd still be too big to subtract. So now we subtract. 18, take away 7, that is 11. Keep my denominator the same, fifteenths, and don't forget those whole numbers. Now we're going to do 7, take away 3, which gives me a 4. 11 fifteenths is lowest terms. So our final difference is 4 and 11 fifteenths. Subtracting those mixed numbers is kind of tricky. I'm going to do one more example. We'll squeeze him right here. What if I just have a whole number like, oh, I don't know, 6, and I want to take away a mixed number, 2 and 3/5. Well, we can't just take and bring the 3/5 down, we have to subtract it from a fraction here. Well, there is no fraction, so we're going to borrow like we did in the last problem. Make this a 5, and now we're going to bring our 1 over here. We want a fraction that's equal to 1, so I could write 6 over 6, or I could write 10 over 10, or I could write 7 over 7, because all those reduce to 1. But I want to have that common denominator, so I'm going to use 5/5. Now we can subtract. 5 minus 3 gives me 2. Keep my denominator the same. Subtract my whole numbers. Lowest term.